The Agenda with Michael Knight on News Radio 560 KPQ and KPQ.com.
And at 10 minutes past 1 o'clock, let's meet our special guest, David Kirtman, former Seahawk and now a man about town, telling us all about the Lake Chelan Memory Cup, which is a golf tournament coming up June 23rd at Bear Mountain Ranch. Welcome to the show, David. Nice to have you in the studio.
Thank you for having me, Michael.
Well, we can talk about football a little bit a little later, because I know anyone who's listening probably says, well, ask him something about the Seahawks, and I promise I will. But first, let's talk about the Memory Cup and why it's happening.
So Alzheimer's disease has been something that's affected my family for now 2 generations. My father was recently diagnosed this summer. I wanted to make a difference, and I wanted to at least have something that can kind of honor the man that he is and kind of the struggles he's going to be going through in the next few years. And this tournament is on June 23rd at Bear Mountain Ranch. Starts at 8 a.m. This is kind of a representation of an event that we can build over the next 20 years, bringing awareness to Alzheimer's Association. I sit on the board of the Washington Alzheimer's Association, and Wenatchee and Chelan areas are going to be big targets for information around dementia and how to get help and how to find and fight a cure for the disease.
Because everybody knows about Alzheimer's, but not many people are familiar with the fact there is treatment of a sort, but no cure.
There is, and there's a lot of resources that the Alzheimer's Association gives, and Wenatchee is a big focus for the association, for the Washington board. And this is a great kickoff event to bring awareness to the walk that we're doing in September, and also just the longest day charity function.
Let's tell everyone, we'll come back and repeat this, but how do they apply? How do they get involved?
Yeah, so go online, www.golfcorpsolutions.com/tournament/Lake Chelan Memory Cup. Sign up for an individual participation or foursome or whole sponsor, whatever you can. Please come out. We'll have some of our old, my old teammates that were on the Seahawks out during my days in 2006, 2009. Lofa Tutupu, Jordan Babineau. We're going to come out and play. And again, an old-timer, Sam McCollum, is going to come. I grew up with his son in the Seattle area. So people are coming out. This is the first ever tournament. It's going to be something that we hope to run for 2 decades.
Once again, to register online, go to GolfCorps, C-O-R-P-S, Solutions.com, Tournament Lake Chelan Memory Cup, and you'll find your way through it. Also, you can just call the Bear Mountain Ranch if you need more information on that. When was your father diagnosed?
In June.
He was
tough.
shock.
And we were living in New York at the time, and we kind of knew things were kind of progressing, but it hit us very hard, and
So you knew something was wrong.
Yeah, and we moved back right away and came back to Seattle to help with my mom and my dad, just to be there, because there's still good years to have with my kids, seeing their granddad and that kind of thing. So it's important to be around him.
Now, how did you go from your father getting diagnosed to being on the board for the Alzheimer's organization?
Really, I asked people within my firm. I work at J.P. Morgan, and they had some connections with the executive director, and I was like, I want to make an impact. How do I do it? Let's fight change from within a great organization that gets a lot of funding already. So it was kind of right when I landed into Seattle, it was just like I wanted to be involved, and met with the board, I think, within a month being in Seattle, and just joined right away.
So you used your business degree from USC to actually work for J.P. Morgan.
Yes, I did. So,
congratulations.
Thank you.
I know it's not easy being a fullback, but nature sort of takes care of that, and you have to take care of the rest.
Right, yes, the fullback's
nature made you a fullback. You made yourself a businessman.
Yeah, I think you have to learn to pivot. I think the NFL is a great.
You better get out of the way.
Great for the time being, but you have the rest of your life to live. So I always put a big focus on finding what I'm going to be passionate about for the next 40 years of my life. So finance and J.P. Morgan was one of that.
Well, I think the lesson that you're learning about Alzheimer's is a good one, but also you should be Pete Carroll should bring you in to talk to the team about finishing school and having a plan B for when it's over.
Yeah, I think
you're a great example of that.
Yeah, I think you get caught up so much with football and making the team and prolonging your career that everyone needs to realize that careers end. You can't play football forever, and you're probably not going to live off the money you make in football for the rest of your life. So you have to find something that you can kind of put your attention into. And it's good to start thinking of it right away. I thought about it in college. That's why I got my business degree, because I figured football's not forever. That was a lesson my father beat into me. Like, this is not going to be forever.
And you listened to him?
And I did. And I think I'm glad I did, because it does end. It doesn't usually end on your terms.
It never does.
So you got to be prepared to pivot and find something to do.
In fact, it rarely ends on your terms. You may not even know that day that it's coming, but it always comes, doesn't it?
It does.
And it's the cruelest part of sport because we idealize it, but there's no wiggle room.
There isn't, and it's one day or 1 year you're on a Super Bowl team, on a playoff team, and the next no one even knows who you are, and it happens so often. No one ever hears about it, and you hear about the top 2% of the players that make the big contracts, but there's 53 guys in the team, and 80% of them, are probably out of the league in 3 years. So it's quick.
When you approached the board for Alzheimer's, what did you find that their work is? What are they up to?
They need awareness of dementia, and they need awareness with the younger community. And that was kind of my angle. Is we all know older people generally have Alzheimer's. But it's your habits that you start when you're young that prevents you from getting Alzheimer's at a younger age. And I think awareness in 30-year-olds and 40-year-olds about your diet, about working out, staying active is all good for your brain functionality. And to be honest, for me, being a football player, I'm kind of committed to knowing about brain health because we hear the CTE stories. We know one of the diagnosis of CTE is early onsets of Alzheimer's. And for me, with it being in my family, also being a fullback for all those years, I took a lot of hits. No diagnosed concussions.
Really?
But they didn't diagnose them like they do now. So
you must have had one that you knew about.
Yeah, and I think it's, brain health is such a deep concept, and I need to learn more about it. And being within the association, we would get to hear from doctors that are fighting this every day, and it's just good to kind of be a part of it. It's
not just something that's visited your family, but it's something that's also visited your industry.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people worry about their brains, and of course I think about it as well. And there's just not a lot of information, or there's no cure. I mean, this is why I'm here. This is why we're trying to raise money and awareness. There's no cure for this. There's not a lot of progress. Yes, we can identify what enzymes are there or the cells. We can identify what habits you should have to prevent kind of brain deterioration, but there's no medicine that has changed what's happening with Alzheimer's.
That's the voice of David Kirtman. He's a former Seattle Seahawks fullback. He's organizing the Lake Chelan Memory Cup, which is coming up July 23rd at Bear Mountain Ranch. It's the first annual, and it is in support of the fight against Alzheimer's disease and the research that has to go into it. In fact, that's something that's going on right now. What are they learning about the disease? They learn something about it's the way it attacks the brain. Did they learn anything about how it progresses?
Well, they're learning a lot about it. Learning about different, and I'm not a doctor, so it's hard for me to speak about it. But they're learning what habits can prevent Alzheimer's and dementia, and they're learning that to be social in your community, to continue working, to continue using your mind, does prolong your life, and it does fight the progression of Alzheimer's disease. And it's staying active within the community, but also every day it's finding either word puzzles to do with your mind or Sudoku to do with your mind with math. They're also learning that being kind of a community leader has really helped and prolong life. And the association has great resources. There's a caregiving center. There's people you can talk to about if it's affected in your family, and they're all over the state. And they're building out their areas in Tri-Cities, and also within Linwood and Tequila. We have new offices there. So we're trying to spread the word.
How's the response been for the golf tournament?
It's been good. It's been challenging. I really wanted to have something within Wenatchee. My wife's from this area. And I feel like this area is going to have a lot more elder generational people coming here because Seattle's so expensive. Land is cheap. Houses are cheaper here, so you're going to have people retiring in these areas. And I want something really organic within the Wenatchee-Chelan Valley. And it's local businesses that are going to partner with me and have this tournament for decades to come. It's the first year, so obviously it's challenging. And I'm not over here all the time promoting the tournament. I live on the west side. And it's also a challenge for people on the west side to travel to Chelan for a weekend to play golf because it's really expensive to stay in Chelan at the time. It's June 23rd. And it's a long drive, so it's harder to get people to come out. But
and we know that one day of golf takes about 3 days.
Right, it takes a long time.
Well, now that you've watched the study go on and the research progress, what's the hope? What are they saying you? If we could just crack this, we'll have a better idea what this disease is all about.
I think the hope is just to bring awareness to what it is and how to identify early stages of it and to get people thinking about it before they're in their 70s. And,
is it just forgetting names or addresses? Because everyone does that.
No, it's just a lot of different things. And you'll see mood swings will be a big thing. You'll see people getting very anxious and angry towards the end of the day. They call it sunsetting. And I think if we know what to look for, and if people know what to look for, then we can identify it earlier and start getting treatment and change habits to prolong life. And the association just hopes to spread our resources that we can give to the community. And I've kind of worn the flag of the Wenatchee Chelan area because we've been vacationing here since I've met my wife, and her family is here. So for us, it's getting association resources out to people and into this area because it's going to be a big focus for us as a board.
Seattle's a good place to study the effects of Alzheimer's, isn't it? It's turning out to be a medical center.
It is, and then you just had Bill Gates giving $50 million to the fight against Alzheimer's and the research of it. So I think it's very topical as kind of the wealthier tech people age, as we all want to understand the brain. And it's not just something that I care about because my father has it. Like, it's something that everyone's going to care about because we're all getting old.
And we're all living longer, so the chances of dementia taking a part of our lives is a very clear reality.
Exactly.
But golf, however, I mean, you don't need a brain to play golf. Anyone can play golf, right?
Well, no, you got to have a sound mind. I think it's a mind game, it's being consistent. But it's also part of this longest day push for the association, and it's centered on solstice. This is the longest day. It's June 21st.
Great.
So it's the longest day to represent the caregivers. Every day is long with Alzheimer's, right? Like for the caregivers and the patients. And this is a way to get out, get active, and that's why you see a lot of different longest day efforts around sports, whether it's kickball, baseball, trying to raise money to be active, to have a long day, not to just sit around and let your brain dwindle. And this is a representation of that. So golf is a big fundraising tool for the longest day effort for this Alzheimer's Association.
And it's a good awareness is a funny thing. It's the difference between having a salad and having a cheeseburger. It's the difference between walking to work or riding to work.
Correct.
It's that idea that I need to help my body because I'm going to need it, and I'm going to need it for the long run, as we all live to be 90 years old.
Right. And I think the more you're thinking about it, the more you're seeing these tournaments and these fundraising efforts, the more you're going to change your habits. And that's the idea.
Our guest is David Kirtman. He's a former Seattle Seahawk fullback, number 34. You may remember him. I'm sure you do. He's put together the Lake Chelan Memory Cup, which is coming up June 23rd at Bear Mountain Ranch. We'll be back to talk with him further right after this.
The Agenda with Michael Knight on News Radio 560 KPQ and KPQ.com.
125 at News Radio 560 KPQ. My special guest is David Kirtman. He's putting together the Lake Chelan Memory Cup. It's a golf tournament for Alzheimer's awareness. It's the first annual. It's coming up at Bear Mountain Ranch, June 23rd. And all you have to do is Google Lake Chelan Memory Cup, Lake Chelan Memory Cup, or go to the long address, thegolfcorpsolutions.com, and check out tournament. It's coming up on the 23rd of next month, June. And everyone is inviting you to come and join them at Bear Mountain Ranch and take part in what is going to be the very first Lake Chelan Memory Cup. Now, this business about a fullback. How come we get 11 guys on the team, but some teams insist on not playing with a fullback? What is that all about, David? It doesn't make any sense to me.
It doesn't make any sense to me either. I think that it's essential to having a sound running game, sound play-action game, and just the smash-mouth football that used to be. But offenses are spreading out more, and they're throwing more, and rules against protecting quarterbacks is easier, so you have the chance to throw the ball down the field more. And it's also a numbers game, and sometimes teams select the tight end to play fullback. Kind of a dying breed, unfortunately.
Can't see Russ Francis running out of the backfield, but that's a possibility, I suppose. Now, you came from a school that also honors the position of fullback. USC has always had fullbacks.
Correct. And actually, we don't have fullbacks anymore at USC.
What do they call them?
They don't have fullbacks. Only H-backs, tight ends. There's no fullback position in Clay Helton's offense. So it's a change for me when we're lining up near the goal line and we're in a shotgun set and not in like a goal line power set. So you gotta kind of get used to that.
But that eliminates some possibilities.
It does, and I think there's just a lack of commitment to kind of the goal line, big fullback blocking, who also has hands. I think that was a lot of it. You had a lot of fullbacks who were just bruisers.
Yeah, just blockers only.
And weren't versatile out of the backfield, so you kind of like, well, you're only here to run. You're not catching the ball down the field. But they're very special fullbacks, can do both.
And the idea of a fullback that blocks and then separates to catch a pass just drives the linebackers crazy.
Absolutely. It's tough to defend.
And then that alone right there is enough of a weapon for me. I got to have a fullback.
You can line up in the I formation every single play and have a passing game, running game. Don't need to spread out. So that's going to be my offense when I create one later in my life.
And as you know, there's every team in the world that says, well, we're reestablishing our offense, so the first thing we have to do is get a
not a fullback.
Running game.
Running game. But they don't think like
we need a running game.
We need a running game, but they don't want to pick fullback.
And do you want a running back? No,
back.
I think that would be going too far.
Right.
The running game is about all we're interested in.
Right.
Perhaps not a running back. Well, the art of the fullback is not just blocking. It's a knowledge of all the gentle relationship in the backfield that has to change immediately.
The best fullbacks obviously were tailbacks who can feel where the soft spots are in the defense when you're approaching. I came from a zone type scheme where I found the hole for the tailback and tried to just plow through it.
That's it.
So you have to have your vision as a good fullback. It's not just on an ISO, especially the way running offenses are. They're all zone schemes. So your fullback is your first guy to find the right hole and kind of lead you to the promised land, which I did for the running backs at USC.
Did you end up, you think, on the Seahawks those two times because of Pete Carroll? He knew he could trust you?
No, so Pete Carroll, I was drafted by Mike Holmgren.
Uh-huh.
So Pete Carroll was after my time.
He's a good talent scout.
Mike Holmgren?
Yeah.
He was, yes, he was. Pete Carroll's doing a great job with the Seahawks now, though. I think he's solidified as like the all-time legendary coach for Seattle, and that's great for him.
Isn't it weird how a team will get a personality? Maybe it's not even one that they wanted. It just sort of takes them over. And that's, strangely enough, it seemed like what happened with Seattle this year. And I don't think that the guys that they traded away merited that sort of treatment, but that was my own feeling.
Yeah, and I think it's, Pete Carroll and Snyder are paid a lot of money to build a team that I think is going to take them to the Super Bowl. And, they've done it before. They've proven it. And I think whatever happens, it's their job to put the right people in that locker room to win games. And I think us as fans, me as an ex-player, we all have our opinions around it, but, it's Snyder's and Carroll's job. They're there to find the right talent to win ball games and to get back to the Super Bowl. And I think we kind of have to trust them doing that.
So if we were going to sit down and watch a football game and you had your choice between the NFL or college ball, which would you choose?
I've actually flip-flopped a little bit. When I was first out of the NFL, I only watched the NFL because I thought it was such a more
precise game.
It's a precise game.
Yeah,
it's just it's so perfect. And college is sloppy. You still have 19-year-olds, 18-year-olds playing that aren't as, fine-tuned as your 27-year-old receiver. So I think now that I'm back on the West Coast, I'm going to a lot more USC games. So I'm now kind of leaning towards college because it isn't perfect, and I can really attach myself to the USC team.
And you see some extraordinary talent out there, and then you realize they're really, really 18, 19, 20 years old. There's no telling where that talent's going to go, or there's no... We often demand too much of them. We want that perfection and precision out of the college game as well. And we're getting pretty close sometimes.
We are. And I think that's the biggest jump between college and the NFL is everyone is the best college player, and everyone does everything perfectly. And there's no room for any mistakes. My coach always said, if you miss a block in college, your quarterback gets sacked, that's what happens. You miss a block in pros, your quarterback gets sacked, he causes a fumble, and they score a touchdown. So that's the difference. And it's
every error
you can get a sack, but the pro is going to cause a fumble, and you're going to score a touchdown the other way. So,
who was your favorite coach for you?
Gosh, that's tough. Well, Carroll, obviously. Carroll, and then my two running back coaches, Todd McNair and Kennedy Pola. And, of course, my high school coach, Dick Nickel.
Where'd you go to high school?
Mercer High School.
Mercer Island. You're an Islander.
I am.
All right. It's a good school.
It is.
The idea of having a relationship with a coach that we don't know very well, your position coach, that's something that we don't hear about a lot. We don't really know what the position coach is responsible for.
Right. I think for me, it was teaching me how to be a running back. And I think when in high school, you can run and you can score a touchdown, but it's more than just being able to run the ball. There's pass protection. You need to recognize defenses. You got to pick up blitzes. So I think those coaches taught me how to be a real running back in college.
It hurts, doesn't it? The game, it hurts. I mean, the day you have off, Tuesday, you guys must be so sore.
I don't think it's just Tuesdays. Every day you're just sore.
It just gets worse.
In pain. And I didn't realize it until I stopped playing football. I was like, oh, my knees don't hurt anymore. And
I wonder why that is.
You wake up in the morning and they're aching, and it just never goes away. And I guess it does a little bit in the off season, but you're training, and then you get the aching. So it's a tough game.
It's a tough game. And thanks for playing it, giving us some thrills. David Kirtman is our guest. He's a former Seahawks fullback. He's organizing something that you should be interested in, the Lake Chelan Memory Cup, which is coming June 23rd to Bear Mountain Ranch. It is a benefit golf tournament for the fight against Alzheimer's disease. David's father's suffering from it, and it's a trait that's running through his family, and that runs through a lot of our families. My father died of a similar disease, Parkinson's, and it subtracts their personality and the people you love slowly every day. They never get better. There is various treatments that are not very encouraging at this point, and the worst part, no cure. So that means that we have a lot of research to do to get this right. Give your father some solace, and use too.
Right.
Thanks for